Coming up in the big story, a jaw-dropping, unbelievable crime. A husband confesses to murdering and dismembering his wife. He was trying to get rid of her one body part at a time. Then, Ann Coulter calls John Edward a faggot. Bill Maher says the world would be better off if Dick Cheney were dead. Big politics. She sure knows how to stir up a hornet's nest. Everybody's still talking about the infamous F word used by conservative columnist Ann Coulter. The lightning rod for controversy struck again at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference. In case you missed it, here's what she said.
I was going to have a few comments on the other Democratic presidential candidate, John Edwards, but it turns out that you have to go into rehab if you use the word faggot. So,
John Edwards says the slur she used to mock him was un-American and indefensible. Both liberals and conservatives are outraged, as you might expect all kinds of people to be. But I'm just wondering why there isn't similar outrage over the remarks political comedian Bill Maher made about the recent assassination attempt against Vice President Cheney. Maher seemed to say he's sorry Cheney wasn't killed.
If somebody on this panel said they wish that Dick Cheney had been blown up, and you didn't say
I think he did.
Okay. Did you say
No, I quoted that.
You don't?
Okay.
Oh,
But
you don't believe that?
No, I'm just saying that if he did die, other people, more people would live.
Okay.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Joining me now, Fox News political analyst Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, and Jason Mattera, spokesman for Young America's Foundation. He was at the CPAC convention when Coulter spoke on Fridays. So, Jason, you first. Did you find Ann Coulter's remark shocking and deplorable and something she ought to be condemned for?
No, I was one of the people who laughed right away because I understood her point, and many people did understand her point. She was making a joke not about homosexuality or calling John Edwards a fag. What she was doing was pointing out that political correctness stifles speech. In the case of Isaiah Washington in Grey's Anatomy, he used the word, and he was told in order to keep his job he had to go to rehab. That was the brunt of the joke. She wasn't, in fact, she said it was a joke, and it would be mean to the homosexual community if she was comparing them to John Edwards.
Rich Lowry, where are you on this Ann Coulter remark?
Well, look, the word, John, it's a schoolyard slur. You really don't expect anyone over the age of about 12 to use it, especially in polite company. But it's not the biggest thing in the world. She meant it as a joke, and obviously the way that the Democrats and the press are using it is entirely opportunistic and ridiculous. On the one hand, you have John Edwards saying no one should pay any attention to this or reward her with any attention for this remark. Then his campaign is trying to raise $100,000 off of it. So it's a typical kind of manufactured controversy all around, I think.
Let me put this on the screen. Coulter and the F word. And the question, was it worse than Maher wishing Cheney was dead? Jason?
No, of course not. And in fact, I would like to also point out she was basically calling John Edwards a wuss, that he was a girly man, and that if he were elected president, he would probably embolden al-Qaeda to attack us. He's not a real man. And many people at CPAC held that sentiment. I mean, it's a grassroots. I want to point this out, too. There are thousands of college students there, and she knows how to communication 101 principle. She knows how to communicate a message to an audience, especially to college students, and she got rousing applause and rousing standing ovations throughout the event.
Rich, let me ask you this thing. Why all the outrage about what Coulter said, and I can see why somebody would want to condemn it, and none about what Bill Maher said?
Well, because the press would prefer to talk about Ann Coulter and portray Ann's remark in that instance as typical of all conservatives. And the press has very little interest in doing the same with Bill Maher. And, also the Democrats, Howard Dean, went out of his way to highlight Ann's remark and make it a controversy. Republicans should be doing the same thing with Bill Maher. I mean, it's absurd that you have people on the left in this country advocating basically the assassination of the Vice President of the United States and no outrage.
Jason, are you guys going to have, you continue to sponsor Ann Coulter, right?
That's correct, happily.
Do you expect Ann Coulter to continue to make outrageous comments like this?
But we have to understand that Ann Coulter packs out student audiences every time she goes to college campus. There are thousands of kids. In fact, you would think that we are handing out free condoms every time she comes to speak because there's so many people who want to hear her. She has 5, let me repeat that, 5 best-selling books. So she knows how to communicate a point, and this was, I thought, a well-crafted joke on her.
Rich, you know, there's if people are outraged about what Ann said, doesn't that make Ann happy?
Of course, of course. She benefits from this. Every time there's a controversy like that, like this, she gains. Her name's out there. Her speaking fees go up. Her books get more sales. So this is all good for her. You know, the people who gain from this are the Democrats who get to raise money from it and betray all conservatives as endorsing these kind of sentiments, and Ann Coulter.
Rich Lowry, editor of the National Review. Jason Mattera, spokesman for Young America's Foundation. Thanks to both of you guys.
Thanks, John.
Be sure to watch Ann Coulter tonight on Hannity and Combs at 9 Eastern right here on the Fox News Channel, of course. Coming up.